negotiated the price for the property. Maybe she's also negotiated some seller concessions.
We're definitely going to try and negotiate some seller's concessions.
And that's what we mean when we say buyer's market, right? Houston is offering where you're going to be able to get up to $125,000 in assistance.
But again, there's so many factors. Let's say you were a student in high school and you live with your parents and now you're of age and you want to purchase a home. There's no way.
It's legit.
And what they tell mom said, if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Well, let me tell you, it's actually a legitimately great program.
Hey everyone, Levon Woods here, a licensed mortgage broker and developer here in the Houston area. My company is Multicultural Mortgage, and I'm here with
Lisa Diaz, and I am with Amistad Agency Group, powered by Exit Realty 360.
All right, so we just came today to just try to shed some light on home ownership, right? We want to help you guys figure out how to get into homes, how to get your potential next investment property, show you how to get the money, and we're just gonna have a little conversation about what your first step should be.
Absolutely, and also too, we're going to touch on down payment assistance program, and one of the specific programs has up to $125,000. You heard me right, $125,000 to purchase a home.
Yes, that's huge, right? So the City of Houston has a new program. We'll talk about that in a bit. Want to tell me a little bit about your background as a realtor?
Yes, I've been in the real estate industry for nearly 20 years. And so I've been doing this for a long time. And one of the things I'm really dedicated is to first-time home buyers, new construction, but more so helping people purchase a house utilizing down payment assistance programs and teaching them how they can stack some of these programs to maximize down payment assistance.
Yeah, so if you've never heard of that term, down payment assistance stacking, it's a really creative way for you to get the funding that you need in order to close. In a lot of situations, depending on your income level, depending on how much debt you may have, you can stack assistance to get the funds you need to get to closing, right? So my background is in, I primarily focus on real estate investment products, but I also help first-time home buyers and help people that need down payment assistance because I have a passion for helping people get into homes. So,
that's right.
One of the programs we're going to focus on today is the new, Houston Harvey 2.0 program that the City of Houston is offering, where you're going to be able to get up to $125,000 in assistance that can cover down payment, closing costs. It may even be able to reduce the principal on the actual property that you're looking for. So this is a huge opportunity in this less than a year to take advantage of this.
Right. And so do you want to tell us a little bit more how you can qualify first to purchase a home?
So just in general, right, when you're trying to get approved for a home, what you want to remember is you want to talk to a lender like myself to figure out how much can you afford. So we're going to do an assessment of your financial situation. We're going to look at your income. We're going to look at your debts on your credit report, and we're going to compare the two to come up with your debt to income ratio. And that's going to tell us how much home you could afford, right? So somebody that's making $100,000 or even $50,000, but their debts are very low, their purchasing power is way higher than somebody that's making way more than them, like say $150,000, but their debts are very high. So you want to try to keep your debts low. You want to come and see, have your credit pulled and see what could you afford. Right, and that's what we're going to do when we first meet with you, get your financial docs and make that assessment. And once we've gotten you pre-approved, that's the first step for you to work with a realtor like Lisa in order to go and get a home, as well as the first step you need to actually apply for that down payment assistance program with the City of Houston.
And we want to make sure that if you think, oh, my credit's shot, there's no way, I have too much debt, there's no way I could ever qualify, and then you just don't even begin. You just say, never mind, I'm not going to do it because there's no way, I don't have an opportunity to purchase. Realize that some of the debt that you think might be important might not be as much of a factor with the lender. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, I recently had a client reach out and, she was looking to get started on her loan application, and then she kind of paused because she said her realtor told her she had to have a 680, right? And I was shocked because I'm like, we can actually go down to a 580 to qualify you for a low down payment mortgage. Like in some cases, in like a VA loans scenario, sometimes you might even be able to go way lower than that, but you want to be at least above a 580 and you can still qualify to get into a home, right? So you want to make sure that you don't eliminate yourself. Talk to professionals and see where you stand first. And then, let us give you your options and give you some guidance on what your next step should be.
That's right, and that's why it's so important to work with a lender or a real estate agent that is dedicated to educating themselves, because the more they know, the more they can help you make an educated decision when you purchase a house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things is that when he said, like with the VA, they have no down payment.
No down payment,
No down
100% financing. Right?
And so those are some of the things that you have benefits that you might not realize, and how can we work those? If you have a 580 credit score, did you ever think you might be able to qualify for a loan? Probably not.
Yeah.
You might have heard, I have to have a 620, I might have to have a 680, I might have to have a more than 700 credit score. Again, it's not always a factor. It's a matter of making an application, submitting it, and working with LeBron and see where you're at. Yes, your debt might be a factor, but that's where he and I can work with you and tell you these are some of the things that you need to work on in order to qualify for a house.
Yeah, and then we can get creative too. Like if we can make recommendations if you need to maybe get a co-signer on your application, or even maybe if you didn't have exactly all the funds you need, maybe you can get gift funds from a family member. There's other creative ways that you can get the financing and closing costs that you need. So you want to always remember that when you're trying to buy a home, you have to focus on getting the down payment that you need, as well as closing costs in order to close, right? So those are two factors that you have to factor in. And with all the money that's available out here with different down payment assistance programs, right now is a perfect time in this buyer's market,
Perfect.
Especially, right?
Perfect time.
To be able to try to get creative about getting those additional sources of assistance.
Right, and when we say creative, we don't mean that in a negative way. We mean that in an absolutely positive way to help you purchase a home. So the City of Houston, they have a down payment assistance program called the Harvey 2.0, and they're offering up to $125,000 to purchase a home. And so you think, what is the catch?
Yeah.
There's no way.
It's legit.
And what they tell us, Mom said, if it sounds too good to be true,
Right.
it's too good to be true. Well, let me tell you, it's
Sometimes,
actually a legitimately great program that'll be available until January 2027, or until the funds run out, from what I understand. And there's people applying, and so
Yes,
one of the
every day.
things, every day. And so here again is why it's important to work with a lender and a real estate agent such as myself that are dedicated in that first-time home buyer and that down payment assistance program.
Yeah.
But for this particular program, here's what I love about this program. You don't necessarily have to be a first-time home buyer if
Right.
you lost your home during Harvey. And so one of the qualifications are you have to have lived within the City of Houston city limits on August 25th, 2017 to be able to qualify.
Yep.
The next great thing, the reason why we're really wanting to encourage you to apply, if you live within the City of Houston city limits, and if you don't know, that's okay, we can help you. We have a map tool that we can share with you, or you can just send us the address. We'll look it up and let you know if you live within the City of Houston city limits.
Yeah.
But again, there's so many factors. Let's say you were a student in high school and you live with your parents, and now you're of age and you want to purchase a home. There's so many factors, but that's where we're coming to help you. So a little bit more about the program. Again, you had to have lived within the City of Houston city limits. August 25th, 2017, we have a mapping tool that'll help you.
Yep.
But another thing, the City of Houston is so much bigger than we realize. It goes from Kingwood to Missouri City down to parts of Webster. So you might think, okay, anything within 610 or anything within Beltway 8, and it's so much bigger than we realize.
And one key that I want to piggyback on that with, right, is why you need to get with a realtor like Lisa, right? Because she's going to be able to look up the property that you're looking into that may not be within the 610 loop necessarily. It might be on that a little bit outer skirts of the 610 or a little bit further out in the city, and she can make an assessment of whether or not that property can qualify, because she can look up the property tax records, because there's a key rule that they have is the property that you want to qualify for the assistance just has to pay taxes to the City of Houston. So if it might not be addressed to Houston, Texas, but it may be paying taxes to the City of Houston, and it would qualify.
Right. And so another thing is you have to be a U.S. citizen or a legal resident. The other thing that I really love about this program, and I really want you to look into, is if you ever considered purchasing a home but didn't quite want to because you maybe didn't have the funds, this is the perfect time, because it gives you up to $125,000. Not just that, your income limits have increased. Usually it's relegated to maybe the lower income.
AMI,
And so like for one person, it's usually around, like say, the $50,000 range. That's what you can earn up to. And that puts a lot of people out from being able to qualify for assistance.
Yes.
Well, this one for one person, you can go up to, I think it's like $84,000. So one person, if you earn below approximately $84,000, you could potentially qualify for this house.
Yeah, and so there's a chart, right, that the city of Houston has, and it increases by family size,
right?
So that's a key component, because if you have a family of 5, now that increases your income limit versus somebody that's just single, right? So it's important to get a hold of that chart. Maybe we'll put it up on the screen, but that allows you to qualify based on what they call 120% of the area median income. Normally you're restricted to 80%, but this program has stretched it and allowed the ceiling to be a little bit higher, so they've made it even more flexible for you guys to qualify. And it goes back to that whole debt to income ratio discussion, because there's something called a back end and a front end DTI ratio. I don't want to get too technical, but essentially what we're doing is we're looking at your income, we're looking at your debts. Somebody that makes $100,000 a year but they have a lot of debt, their purchasing power might be lower than someone that makes $50,000 a year but they have no debt on their credit, which is very surprising to see once you run the numbers, right? So we want to get an assessment of what are your income, what are your debts, and that's going to give us an idea of, do you qualify for the program, number one, based on the income requirements, and then also, where you stand in terms of your debt to income ratio and whether or not you qualify and how much you qualify for.
Right. So like for 2 people, it's about $97,000. For a family of 3 or 3 people, it could be potentially 3 roommates, let's say, that just want to get in and purchase a house together, right?
Yeah.
So it's 3 people that are earning income. Let's say it's 1 adult, 2 children, and the two children aren't earning income. It's just 1 adult. So there's so many factors, but it's the people that will be residing in the home.
Yep.
So occupying the home. So about one person, it's approximately $84,000. For 2 people, it's about $97,000. For 3 people, I believe it's about $109,000. 4 people, it's about $121,000.
It keeps stepping up. Yeah,
it keeps going up as the number of people that live in your home, and that's again one of the most fantastic things about the Harvey 2.0 is that they've increased the amount that you're able to earn and still qualify for down payment assistance. So if you've been sitting on the fence, it's a buyer's market. It's a fantastic time to buy, and this Harvey 2.0 program is worth it because the income is increased. So the middle income earners, this is for you. This is your chance to be able to qualify for homebuyer assistance and be able to purchase a home. So let's give a scenario. Let's say, for example, if they did qualify. Remember, it's up to $125,000. So let's say we get somebody and they qualify for $100,000 down payment assistance. Let's play with a number. Let's say about $200,000, $250,000.
In terms of home price?
And price, and how they use the $100,000.
So here's the tricky part, right? The city of Houston is not really released like a formula on how they come to the decision of what you qualify.
Right, it's a case by case basis.
It's a case by case basis, and what they're really looking for is who needs what, right? If you don't need a lot of assistance, they're not going to just give you $100,000 just so you can just go spend $100,000, right? It's for whoever needs it the most, right?
They want to make it as affordable
as possible. Yeah. So they're going to be looking at what is it that you can qualify from an income standpoint. So if you can only qualify for, let's say, $150,000 house, but maybe there's no houses that are suitable for you, and maybe you need another $50,000 in assistance in order to bump that principal up, or maybe you need the combination of down payment and closing costs is $75,000. They're going to make that assessment based on getting you to fit into their guidelines. They're going to be looking at my pre-approval and trying to figure out, okay, how can we get this person into a home, right? And if my pre-approval says that, okay, this person only qualifies for a certain limit because their DTI might be a little bit high, or because their income, is at a certain level, and we need them to get this amount in order to get them to this level, then we can make that recommendation. They're going to look at that on your pre-approval letter, and then they're going to make a case-by-case decision on how much assistance they're going to provide. So there has not been an exact formula release that I'm aware of yet. We're gonna keep our ears to that program and work with the underwriters to figure out how we can get more details about that out to you guys. But the first step is just figuring out what is your income, because they're looking at how much income you have and what are your debts.
Right. So again, like if maybe you did qualify for $100,000, you can utilize a portion of that. Let's say maybe, for example, it's $20,000 for your closing costs, right?
Yeah.
So now you have $80,000. Again, it's a case-by-case basis, so we're just giving a potential
Right.
example.
Right.
So from that $100,000, you use $20,000 towards your closing costs, and now you're left with $80,000.
Yeah.
You could potentially use, depending on the lender's program, let's say they use $10,000 to buy down
the rate in order to get a lower payment, which would result in your debt to income ratio coming down, right? So let's say your debt to income ratio was over the limit. They're going to look at how much additional money do we need to pay off on the principal or maybe on the rate or wherever scenario they come up with in order to get this person to fit within the guidelines. So they're trying to figure out how to get you into a home. And they're working with a bucket of $125,000 that they can use in different ways, whether that's reducing your rate, paying for your down payment, applying some to the principal. There's all these tools that they have with that money in order to make it work for your scenario.
Right. So $100,000, $20,000 towards your closing costs, $10,000 to buy down the rate. So now you're left with $70,000. What else could they do with that $70,000?
You could either, it could cover the rest of that could cover down payment, or did we say down payment already?
Down payment,
okay.
so say $20,000, $10,000 to buy down. Now we're left with $70,000. Could they reduce their principal?
That could potentially be used to reduce your principal. So essentially, what that means is, if you were going for a home that was $250,000, but that's outside of your range, if they apply $70,000 to that $250,000, the principal reduction essentially makes the scenario where your loan is actually only $180,000 versus $250,000, right? So that they're reducing the amount that you're going to owe on the house, which is essentially, ends up becoming equity when you think about it.
Right.
So this is essentially like a gift that you're getting.
Yeah. And so you say gift. Again, you think, what's the catch?
Yeah.
Well, the catch is a catch, and it's not really a catch. It's just if somebody's granting you, and that's what it is. It's a true
Right.
grant. What are the requirements? And so one of the requirements, it's staggered. So if they're giving up to $50,000, you have to stay in the house 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And then from $50,001 to about $75,000, and we're going to put all the information in here. Again, it's staggered.
Yeah,
Then you have to
goes
stay in
up.
the house 8 years. And anything over $100,000, you have to stay in the home 10 years. So those are the things, one of the things that they ask you is to make sure that this is your primary residence. And the reason why is because they don't want investors or
Yes.
people that are not going to be occupying the home to utilize this when it's so much needed by people that need to make this their primary residence.
Yes.
So they want you to live in there either 5, 8, or 10 years. So that's one of the things, again, to be a U.S. citizen, legal resident, to have lived in City of Houston limits on August 25th, 2017.
Yeah.
They want you to also to please only at $350. $350
Right.
to be a
Out
part
of
of the
your
program.
pocket,
Out of
right?
your pocket.
Out of pocket
That's it.
cost.
That's all they're asking is to you invest $350. And you can apply that even if it's something as doing maybe a payment on your home inspection or a survey. Again, there might be some differences, but if there's some differences, that's what the down payment assistance could come in and help you offset that difference.
Yeah.
Again, there's maybe a few more. Again, we're going to list everything, and that's what we're here to help to answer all those questions. We know that you're hearing a lot of acronyms like debt to income ratio, DPA, all these ABCs,
Short
1, 2, 3,
acronyms,
right?
yes,
These
yes.
acronyms, and it gets a little confusing. I know it's a lot of information. AMI, which is area median income. What do all these things mean? Well, what we have done is we created a list of things that'll help you be able to follow a roadmap to help you on your journey to home ownership.
Yeah, and just to touch on, Lisa said that you have to stay in the home, right? You do have to occupy the home. That's important here, that you have to plan to occupy the home. And it's important that you understand that, no, you don't have to stay in the home for the entire time. But what's going to happen is if you need to leave or sell the property, there's going to be a lien against the house. And essentially the proceeds from the house will be used to pay back whatever it is that you have left to pay back in terms of your allotted prorated time or whatever that's left on what you owe for the property, right? So it's not necessarily that it's not going to be an extra debt on your credit. It's not going to be, a burden to you. It's just that they want you to stay put and be a homeowner in Houston, right? They're going to get property tax dollars from this. This is reinvesting in communities. So that's the goal of it. It's not necessarily for it to be, It's not for it to be in it for investment property. So plan to stay in it, you know, and if you don't, you know, if you have to move and you can't stay the entire term, don't be worried that you're gonna owe any money, right? Like the proceeds from the sale, if you sell it and you have to move, will cover and pay back the city.
Right. So, for example, what he means by that, let's say you're required to stay in the house for 5 years, and on year 4 you get a fantastic job opportunity in another state, and you have to move, so you will no longer be occupying the property. You think, what do I do? How am I going to have to pay a lot of money back? Let's just say it was only $10,000 out of $50,000 that you had to pay back, since you're no longer be occupying it. And once you sell the house, say with your proceeds, you're going to take that $10,000 and it goes back to the city. Because they do want to give this to you. They want to grant you this money to make it an affordable house, but also too they want to make sure that it's your home, that you're occupying it, and that you're enjoying this home, and not somebody that's just going to use it as an investment property and take that opportunity away from a first-time home buyer or somebody that's looking to replace their home that they lost during Harvey.
Absolutely, absolutely. And keep in mind, this is just one program, right? Like there's so many down payment assistance programs that are out there.
We don't even about stacking.
Right, we don't even have time to cover them all. Like the city of Houston even has another program that doesn't have the requirement of you being in the home, you know, or living here since 2017 during Harvey. They're giving up to $50,000, you know, in assistance, right, for that program. So that's just one on the city level. Then you have state level programs like T-Shack, right? The mortgage tax credit certificate. You have nationwide programs that I personally have, right, where I can give you 5%, meaning 3.5% can be applied to your down payment. The other 1.5% can be applied to your closing costs. So it's not just restricted to the Harvey program. You know, there's many other programs out there.
Right, and so then there's also some nonprofit organizations that also offer some money, and they want you to invest in yourself, right? And by investing in yourself, they reward you by doing so. So if you save money, then they'll match. It's like a matching grant, and you can use. Sometimes you can use these City of Houston programs or any down payment assistance program, as long as it works with that particular program and the lender. You can stack. So let's say, for example, you get $50,000 from the city. And then this other program offers you $4,000, and then you can stack it. So now you have $54,000. And as long as you're able to utilize these programs, and it's allowed by the lender and by that particular program that offers it, you can get more and more and more. And that's what we have committed ourselves to try and stack these programs to get you as much money as possible, because we want you to have an affordable payment, and so that you can sleep at night and be okay, and use that money to maybe go on vacation or to invest it and keep it, you know, and multiply it in another way.
Absolutely. You know, and there's, you know, there's also other techniques where, you know, maybe even the seller might give you assistance, right? They even allow, you know, Lisa, you know, being the negotiator that she is, right?
We're going to get as much money, we promise.
Right, advocating on your behalf and doing something called a seller credit. That is legal in America, where you can go to the seller and say, hey, I want to purchase your home, but I need you to give me a certain amount of money that will be applied to my closing costs. That will be another layer of creative assistance that can be added to your deal on top of what the city may give you or what some down payment assistance program may give you, right? I even have something called lender credits that I can give you to help you buy down your rates, right? To my special clients, I'll give you a lender credit that will also help reduce your closing costs. So there's many layers to this, and this is why you want to make sure you work with people that are familiar with how to structure these deals.
And that's what he was talking about. When we talk about creative, we're not talking about something like some woo-woo type of thing. It's things that think outside the box. Absolutely. And so when you educate yourself as a lender or a real estate agent, you said, okay, how can I find these programs? What are they about? How can I use them to get as much money as possible? So like, again, so say with the City of Houston, say you're able to qualify for that $50,000 program. Then you sign up with a nonprofit organization, you work with them, and they say they give you $2,000. So now you're at $52,000. And then once we find a house that you like, we can negotiate. And the seller does not have to know how much money you're getting from down payment assistance. That's not with the requirement. The only thing that they need to know is if we do utilize the DPA program, we have to let them know that we're going to be using a DPA, but they do not need to know how much you're going to be able to qualify for.
Yeah.
So we can negotiate, and I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we would like to request $6,000 in closing cost assistance in order to purchase. And let's say they do give that to you. So that's another $6,000. So now you're 52 plus 6, and now you're at 58.
Starts adding up.
It starts
right?
adding
real
up.
quick. And now
then you have programs for
Right.
for our special clients,
Right,
right?
right.
So let's say he has something else. So again, it's about making your debts be as low as possible, and
Yes.
to making your mortgage payment as low as possible to make it affordable for you.
Yeah, and I have tools as well that I use as a lender to be able to pre-forecast maybe changes that you need to make to get to a certain score. So, but I can't give you that information until you've actually come to me and actually gotten your credit pulled, because once your credit's been pulled, we can make an assessment and see, okay, if you're not where you need to be, what changes do you need to make according to the FICO and the credit score algorithms.
Right.
And we have almost a cheat code, right? It'll tell us specifically, it'll give me even a prediction score of how accurate that the changes would be, right? So it'll say there's a 97% chance that if you pay off this card by 500, if you remove this credit card, if you do this or that, then your score is going to jump to a 620 or whatever, right? You would never know that information unless you came to actually apply,
Right.
and get that assessment done.
So what would you say would be the first step? They're thinking about purchasing a home. They have 100 questions, but what's the first step they should do?
I think the first step is figuring out how much you can afford. I always look at it like, if you're gonna go grocery shopping, right? Are you gonna look into your bank account and see make sure you have some funds to purchase, right? You want to know what should you be shopping for, where do you stand? Because Lisa's not going to be able to actually help you and take you out, right? And actually shop for a home unless she knows what price range you're in, right? She can give you advice and guidance, but what you want to know is, what can I afford? You got to determine what is your income versus your debts. That's the number one thing you got to do, in my opinion, when you want to get into a home, is figure out where you stand, and we can help you do that.
Right, and so the next step, once you're been qualified, and let's say you qualify for up to $200,000, then that's when we start talking and say, okay, this is what you qualify for. Now let's start that application. Let's say you do want to qualify for some down payment assistance program. We'll help you with that down payment assistance application.
Yeah.
And also too, there's an 8-hour buyer's class that we can help you set up, that you can
Yes.
go and take it. You can take it at your leisure, at home, or
Yes.
online at your own pace, or you can go to one of the organizations. If you're more in-person type of person, then they have some at all kinds
Yeah.
of places, and there's a link that you can do it according to your schedule.
Yeah, and keep in mind, guys, this type of stuff is very high touch. There's not a lot of lenders and realtors out here willing to help you figure this stuff out, because it's high touch, which means there's a lot of steps in the process that we want to walk you through and make sure that you don't make any missteps, right?
Right.
Like, with that being, making sure that we tell you what your options are. There's a HUD class that is required for the down payment assistance.
Which is the 8-hour class.
The 8-hour class where you get a certificate. That's part of where the $350 minimum out-of-pocket requirement that's a part of the Harvey program, that course would essentially probably satisfy that.
But some of them are free.
Out-of-pocket, and some are free.
Some
yeah.
are free,
Yeah.
and those are the ones we can tell you, hey, they offer for free. Some of the self-paced ones say, you know what, I really need a self-paced one. Those are typically run about $100. A lot of these nonprofits do offer that 8-hour buyer class for free. Some charge $50, and if you do it with like a nonprofit, they'll ask you to do a $25 reservation, but it'll be refunded to you once you take the class.
Yeah.
And if you think, well, there's no way, I got work, typically things are done during the day, they also have them on the weekend,
Yeah.
or they have them at night over a course of a couple of weeks. So there's all different types of
kind of
ways to
options.
satisfy
Yeah.
it. Don't let any of these things that have been barriers for you before, whether it's your debt, whether
Right.
it's your credit score, you not having the funds, or just simply not knowing where to begin because somebody tells you, just wait for the market to tank.
Yeah.
Oh, rates are going to come down. There's so many things. I have to have 20%, which is not the case.
Yeah, that's such a myth.
It's such a
Please,
myth.
I wish that would be eradicated at this point. You don't need 20% to get into a home.
How much is the minimum that you see?
We can go down to 3% on conventional if you're a first-time home buyer. So FHA is 3.5%. I mean, they're right there, right? And So you can't get any lower. And then obviously the lowest is
The
like
VA.
USDA
Yes.
rural and also VA. And you'll be surprised, if you looked at the USDA maps and determine, what property qualifies, you'll
Can
be
you tell them
surprised
what
where it
USDA?
is. So USDA is the agricultural department, right? This is a special rural development loan program that's essentially about developing rural areas. But a lot of the places that are marked as rural areas are within minutes of the city.
They are.
Which
And so
you'd be
you think
surprised
it's
of.
going to be way out in the country.
Yes.
And I've actually looked up some of those addresses because I was curious, and they're a lot closer than you think. It's not where
Yeah.
going to be all the cows and horses
Right.
are.
They're
There's
actually-
actually
yeah.
some tracks that are very much close to where you want to
Yes.
be, as close to the city. And some of those have zero down, such as the VA. So we
Yes.
definitely want to also help our veterans. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
There's so many ways to navigate that as well. And there's some great benefits that you have that
Yes.
LaVon and I know how to help you with that as well.
Yeah, if you're a veteran, you have the ultimate cheat code with the VA loan program. That's a no-brainer. No, there's no veteran walking around. If you have income, you should not be renting, in my opinion. You should be buying properties with that VA benefit that you have. That's my opinion. I love the VA program. It's very lenient. There's a lot of flexibility with that program. So if you're a veteran, you definitely want to be looking into owning a home.
That's right. So if you have any questions, one of the first steps to do is get in touch with LaVon and myself. We'll put our information so that you'll be able to contact us. Get that application started. It's
Yeah.
really easy. It's documents that you should already have on hand
Yeah.
that you can get either from your employer or from your income taxes.
Should I go into that a little bit?
A little bit, and let's tell also too about the people that are self-employed that also
Yeah.
think there's just no way. So what we're dedicated is to helping you overcome those questions, those barriers that have prevented you from potentially buying a house.
Yeah. So if you're an employee, right? You have a W-2 job. You get pay stubs. That's probably one of the easiest ways to qualify, right? Because we're essentially looking at your gross. We're not even looking at what you take home after all your deductions. So your check might be, way less after you contributed to retirement accounts or after taxes, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the actual gross number of your salary or your hourly wage, right? So it's so important to, get your latest pay stubs. If you want to use bonus income, we have to show at least 2 years consistent bonus income, right? So
Which could help you increase your purchasing
that'll
power.
help, yes.
As long as you have overtime and you can show that it's been dedicated over the
Yes.
course of 2 years,
Yes.
it can boost up your purchasing power.
Yes, and when we say boost up your purchasing power, that means it's going to help you qualify for a higher home loan because your debt to income ratio is now going down, right? If I increase my income and my debt stays low, now my ratio is lower, which allows me to qualify for more home. So that's what we're looking to do, right? Is try to see what you can qualify for. So you want to make sure you get your pay stubs. If you're self-employed, what we're going to be looking for is your tax returns. Obviously, you need to show at least 2 years history. It's a little bit tougher when you're a self-employed borrower, but it's not impossible, especially with a mortgage broker like myself. We have so many options for self-employed borrowers in terms of, I even have an option where you can be in business for 1 year and still buy a home, right? There's different down payment requirements with that, but what we're trying to communicate to you guys is there's so many options available out here today that don't eliminate yourself.
Right.
Make sure that you get with us and we can tell you what your options are.
Yes, don't count yourself out. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
Yeah.
And there's a quote that said the beginning of 1,000 steps, the journey of 1,000 steps begins with
the
first
one,
step,
right?
right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's what I know. I didn't quite quote it quite properly, but it's about like beginning. You just got to take
Yes.
that first step, and that first step is getting with LaVon and myself and beginning that journey. And we're going to be through there every step of the way,
Yeah.
through every question, and that you might have 100, you might have 200. And it's okay. We've heard them, and if we don't know, we
Yeah.
definitely will find the answer to them.
And
So
that's
getting their
important.
documents together.
Yeah, so getting your pay stubs or your tax returns if you need to get that together. We're going to obviously ask for Social Security card, driver's license, that type of standard stuff. If you have very, very simple income, it's not too complicated. That's really the most that we need in order to make an assessment, right? Along with either your bank account, your bank statement or whatever down payment assistance program you want to go with, right? So if you don't have all the funds to close, but your intentions are to get, the down payment assistance in stack, we can still give you the pre-approval letter as just, we'll just determine what could you potentially qualify for with the down payment assistance, and we'll just note that on your pre-approval letter that you're expecting to do, down payment assistance. So once we have your income docs, that's at that point in time, you're gonna know what you can afford. You're gonna know what's your price range, right, of where you can shop. And then if we're talking about the Harvey program, that's where you're now going to work with Lisa, and she's going to help you get that application started with the city, right? To where they will now put you in the pipeline to determine how much assistance they're going to give you.
Right, and then the next step after you get pre-approved is to do that 8-hour buyer class.
Yes.
And then once you do those two things, you have your pre-approval in hand and you have your class in hand, your certificate. Then we begin the application process for any down payment assistance program. But if you're interested in that Harvey 2.0, which is up to $125,000, we suggest you get started now because it is a process. So it's taken about 2 weeks for the application process to go through.
Oh wow! I thought last I heard it was like 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks, yeah. Well,
if it's gone down now, that's
no, it's 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay,
it's still,
all right.
it's still the same amount of time. 6 to 8 weeks just to get that application pushed through. And once you have the application pushed through and they do accept it, they'll give you a number, and then after that you have 90 days to look for a house. So it still gives you time to buy a house. Not saying that you have to go the entire 90 days. It could be on your first visit. You're like, this is it. This is my house. We're ready to go. It's just saying up to 90 days once they give you that conditional letter of approval to purchase a house, and then we submit the contract to them, and then it's another process from there. So it's not a quick process, but for me, the way that we look at it is that it might be very beneficial to you to wait that time because of the amount of money. I've been doing this for almost 2 decades, and I have never seen this amount of money. And the AMI, which is the area median income, meaning what you earn per year, to be so high. And so that's why we really, really want to encourage you middle income earners that have been wanting to purchase a house but just couldn't because the down payment assistance was a barrier. This is your time. This is your time. If you're looking to move within the city of Houston limits, remember it goes from Kingwood to Missouri City as far as to Webster. It's a huge area. If you lived in the city of Houston city limits at that particular time, you may have moved from there. But if you lived in the city of Houston city limits on August 25th, 2017, or if you lost your house due to that, you can definitely qualify. Not definitely qualify. You can apply to see if you qualify.
See if you qualify. So once your application's in there, there's going to be a waiting period, right? Some of these things can be done in parallel where once you've got your pre-approval, you can do your HUD class, simultaneously with your. You can do your HUD class simultaneously with your application in there while you're waiting, right?
I think you have to do the application, your class.
You have to have it first.
Yes.
Okay, so then you'd have to have the cert first. But once they've assessed how much you're going to qualify for, at that point maybe you've already decided on the home. You guys have already found it, or maybe you want to go searching at that time. But once you've gone on the contract, meaning you've identified the property that you want to buy, Lisa's negotiated the price for the property. Maybe she's also negotiated some seller concession.
We're definitely going to try and negotiate some seller's concessions.
And that's what we mean when we say buyer's market, right? Buyer's market is like an industry term, which simply means there are more sellers out here than buyers, right? So what it means is you guys are the sellers are in the majority, so buyers have a lot of options. So that means that you get to pick and choose which one you want to buy. And if that's the case, I'm a seller. What I'm trying to do is incentivize you to come buy my house and not my neighbor's house, right? So what am I going to do as a seller? I'm going to say, okay, look, hey, if this person's already good to go and they're pre-approved and qualified, I'll give them 10 grand if they'll buy my house. I just want to get rid of this house at this point because I'm selling. Most likely they're going to want to give you some sort of concession in order to do that. Right.
And so the other thing, and we're going to be wrapping it up here soon, because again, we know it's a lot of information and we can answer all your questions, is that, again, if you keep hearing just wait for the rates to drop, well, this again is a perfect opportunity to make that market shift happen for yourself. You can use this down payment assistance as long as it's approved with the lender and with the city to buy down your rates. So you don't have to wait for that market rate to drop, you can
Yeah.
have the opportunity to buy it down yourself.
And what she means by buy down your rate is if I quote you a rate at like, let's say 7%, whenever I give a rate quote, there's always going to be a chart that tells me how much is a lower rate going to cost, right? And so there's a fee that you can pay in order to get dropped down to a 6% rate, right? And that could be a large fee though. So, that's where the other assistance comes in, where you can get your seller to pay for it. The down payment assistance program can reduce it. So now your rate's gone from a 7 to a 6, or maybe it was at a 6.5 and you've gotten it down to a 5.5, right? So that drastically helps with your payment at the end of the day.
Right. So just know that we're here to help answer all your questions. We're committed, whether you're a first-time home buyer, whether you're an investor,
yeah.
seller looking to do any of those, we're here to help you, particularly with the down payment assistance program. We want you to apply Harvey 2.0, and you can
Yes.
get with Levon.
Yes, you can get with me. I'm on Instagram, LDUBBCEO. That's my personal page. I'm also on there under Multicultural Mortgage as well.
And you can get with me. I'll put my information in the comments below. So get with me. I'm Lisa Diaz with Amistad Agency Group, powered by Exit Realty 360. Thank you so much for watching. Yes. We're ready to help you with your journey on the road to home ownership.
Absolutely. And ownership over time is how you build wealth. That's my motto. So you want to get in the game and not be sitting on the sidelines. Time is how you're going to build wealth, as you build equity over time. So get in the game.
That's right. Thank you, Levon.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching.